Hey there guys, this is Slamzeron, aka YouTube's Tosuke. As I've probably mentioned before in some way, shape, or form, I've become a fan of the Dynasty Warriors game, so I should probably give my thoughts, or at least that's what I thought I should do, on the next game that's coming out in like literally a month, Dynasty Warriors 7. It's a PlayStation 3 exclusive to start off with, and so any of you Xbox people out there who like Dynasty Warriors, you probably won't get to play this game. I don't know if they're going to do a port. They might. I mean, Tecmo, or Koei at the time, seems like the port their game's over. Like, they even made a Dynasty Warriors 6 Empires port for the PSP, which in my opinion is, I don't know, not that good. If anything, they should have put it on PC or something. But to start off with, I'm looking forward to this game, actually. I really am. More so than I have any other Dynasty Warriors game. Like, it was funny, like, when Dynasty Warriors 6 came out and I played, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Then I heard about, Dynasty Warrior, and I knew about the whole Empires thing. He's like, okay, I'm just going to wait for Empires to come out. So I kept waiting, then it finally came out, and then I played that, and I was looking forward to that. But this one, I'm actually looking forward to the regular game. Mainly because so many of the characters look so cool. Like, one of my favorite characters, Lu Xun, looks so much cooler than any other game. And, I think I never really liked the way he looked at all in general. He's very girly. For those of you who don't know about him, I thought he was cool personally. I just like the way he looks. He has a nice fighting style, at least in Dynasty Warriors 6. He's all fired like, and he's pretty cool. He's kind of girly, a little bit of a weirdo freak. According to my Chinese friend, he's a cross-dresser. At least, like his actual historical persona, because the Dynasty Warriors characters are based off of real people and Romance of the Three Kingdoms. But to give you an idea on how he's improved, like, let me give you like a little bit of the way he looked. This is the way he looked in Dynasty Warriors 5. Now, in Dynasty Warriors 1, I'm assuming that's when he appeared, all the way up to 5, it was really basically this one design, but he just got a few upgrades every now and then. 5 is probably the one where this style looks the best, in my opinion. And, he looks alright, I suppose. I feel like he looks too much like a tactician or like a scout, or like he literally looks like a Boy Scout almost. And I know he's sort of young, really boyish, I guess we could say. But, I just don't think he looks good. Even his fighting style with the two swords, I remember thinking, oh, awesome, he uses two swords. He's actually gonna play pretty well. And I remember like, no, he doesn't. He doesn't play well at all. I'd rather play as Liu Bei, or anyone else for that matter. Though for the record, I do like Liu Bei. I'll get to him in a minute. Then Dynasty Warriors 6 came, where I thought he looked the best so far. He still looks like a tactician, in my opinion. But he looks still cool. He actually looks like he is not like a little boy anymore. He looks like he's an adult. I mean, he's like 17 years old, so And he looked cool. He uses that single sword style. He kind of fought similar a little bit towards Zhou Yu back in the older games, which I'll get to in a minute. I'm sort of getting ahead of myself, yet staying on task at the same time. But he was still pretty cool, and he fought decently. Then here comes Dynasty Warriors 7, the way he looks now, where he looks so badass. He looks awesome in my opinion. He looks like he is like gonna be like a ruler or something. And he's going back to, he sort of is slightly going back to that scout look. I can't help but look at him, like if I were to classify him as like an RPG class based on his looks, I'd class him as like a ranger or a scout. He goes back to using the two-sword style, though I think it's going to play a little bit better, because he's actually using like two like swords. Like, in the game he would use like two little stupid daggers, and he fought terribly, in my opinion. And, his style is definitely not worth giving to anyone. You should only give it to a character if you're not going to play as that character. That's my opinion. But he looks so much cooler now, and he even has his same voice actor, his same English voice actor. He looks so cool. While we're on the subject of favorite characters, I'm also pleased to see how Xiao Ho Dun It's fun. I'm used to saying English names, fantasy names, and Japanese names, but when it comes to Chinese names, I sort of stumble. Xiahou Dun. He looks pretty cool. He's kind of cool. He has sort of like a pirate look to him, and I like how he's going back to his old style where he used like that big sword. I personally thought he fought that was like a great style. And there've been some changes to the gameplay, but I'll get to that in a minute. He looks pretty cool. I kind of like the way he looks in this game more than he does, in Dynasty Warriors 6. Thing is, he's sort of combining, like, I think two different kind of styles. In a way, he's sort of going back to an original style. Like, he looks sort of like the way he did in Dynasty Warriors 5, but he's sort of, taking up, like, some of the outfit styles that he had on in Dynasty Warriors 6. And, he looks pretty dang cool. And then, probably my favorite character out of them all, I'm still not entirely sure, there's Sun Quan. He's pretty cool. I like the way he looks. I got into him through Dynasty Warriors 6, no homo. But I think he looks pretty cool. Though I think he looks cooler in Dynasty Warriors 6, though they've mentioned that the Dynasty Warriors 6 costumes are going to be DLC, and even Zhao Yun is going to have his Dynasty Warriors 1 costume. So that's going to be kind of cool. And, there's also Liu Bei. He looks pretty cool. I actually sort of like the way he looked in the Dynasty Warriors 5 and whatnot games. I kind of liked how he had that sort of soldiery look. At that time, really, Cao Cao was really like the only one who looked different, while Sun Jian and Liu Bei, the two leaders of the three leaders of the three kingdoms, Sun Jian and Liu Bei, they both look the same. The Liu Bei's probably one of my favorites. I mean, he fights pretty well, and I like the way he fought in Dynasty Warriors 5 and whatnot. And I already mentioned it before, Cao Cao. I like him a lot, mainly because he's the Nobunaga Oda of Dynasty Warriors. I think he's pretty cool. I like the way he looks. I don't really have any complaints. I knew they wouldn't mess him up. He's kind of a big, important character. I don't know how many ancestors he has today. I heard about that one guy who was Nobunaga Oda's, like 81st descendant, but he's like an ice skater or something. I don't know. But yeah, everyone looks pretty cool. Though I'm a little more interested in the Jin faction. If you've kept up with the news about Dynasty Warriors 7, you'll notice that they're actually adding in a fourth kingdom. Excluding the others, because in that case it would be 5. But they're adding in another kingdom called Jin. And, it looks like their ringleader is Cao Cao's old tactician, Sima Yi, which I find to be very, very intriguing and interesting. I found that to be so odd. I'm not an expert on Romance of the Three Kingdoms or even Dynasty Warriors story, so I don't know what happened in Dynasty Warriors 6. It probably would have helped if I had played through that game, but I didn't. And, I just find it so interesting how, like a person of Cao Cao's army leaves to form his own army. I don't know, what his status is. I don't know if he's the ruler or the tactician. Something leads me to believe him to be the ruler because there's this other guy who kind of looks like he'd be a tactician, and plus he uses a little feather fan thing. It's either him or his son, Sima Shi, who I think is a very interesting character. He almost looks like he'd be like a successor to the Jin throne. I know there's another character named Sima Zhao. I don't have him pictured right now because the focus is right now really Sima Shi. I think Transangel would probably think he's cool, personally. I mean, that's just me. I think he's sort of a Cao Pi kind of guy, but, I think once he sees Sima Shi, he'll go like, holy shit, that guy's the man. And so I'm really intrigued to see, how the whole Jin storyline is going to play out. I might actually play that one. I might, maybe let Nick, or Transangel, yeah, that's his name. I'm just going to go ahead and, I'm going to go off topic for a quick second. My real name's Ryan, Transangel's real name is Nick, Orphan's real name is AJ, and Matthias' real name is Cedric. Okay, there we go. Back to topic. I think, I might even let, Transangel or Nick or whatever you want to call him do first player while I play someone else. Like maybe Sima Zhao, and he can play Sima Shi. All that really only depends if like he actually thinks he's cool. I'm sort of hanging on to the whole Jin thing, but still, I don't know. I guess I didn't really expect there to be like another faction. Probably because I know nothing about Romance of the Three Kingdoms. I'd love to read it, and what little I know about what goes on is from my Chinese friend who's told me that some stuff in Koihime Muso was accurate. So I know about a few things, but Another thing that I found kind of interesting is the amount of marriages that are in this game, or at least the ones that have been told. Like, Sensei gets married to somebody, Sao P gets married to someone, and even friggin' Zhou Yu, who, in my opinion, is the keel of Dynasty Warriors, if you get my drift. He's not so much a keel. He's actually kind of cool. If you've seen his Dynasty Warriors 5 design from, Dynasty Warriors 1 to 5, and then you look at his Dynasty Warriors 7 design, he looks pretty similar to the way he used to look, as opposed to Dynasty Warriors 6, where he actually literally kind of looked like Keel. He kind of looked like Keel. Not only that, but his wife is like the loli of Dynasty Wars. Look at her. She looks like a friggin' loli. And you guys are probably thinking, well, what about that other girl? Well, I'll get to her in a quick second. But, Zhou Yu, he's pretty cool, I suppose. I mean, I liked how he used a sword at first. So I'm not too surprised by that, but I was a little surprised that him, of all people, would get married. I thought, if anything, Sun Quan would get married, but nope. He ends up becoming, actually, Sensei's brother-in-law. I think I might have the pairings mixed up, I'm not sure, but anyway, going on to that girl, Sun Xiangxiang, I think that's her name. I'm just going by what my images say. She is friggin' hot now. I think she's so friggin' hot. Like, if you guys remember the way she looked in the older games, like in the previous games, I don't know exactly when, maybe Dynasty Warriors 5, but she sort of wore like this timidity, red garment. She almost looked like a priest or something. She looked very timid and quiet and young and meek. Then Dynasty Warriors 6 came along and she looked like a, sort of like a carefree, sort of tomboyish kind of character. And she used a bow and she actually made some headway into the fighting and whatnot. But, But now in Dynasty Warriors 7, she looks cool. She looks hot, man. She looks fucking hot. Just kidding. Well, actually, no, I'm not kidding. I guess what I probably should have said, I don't know. I'll probably add her in my party, and she can be part of my army. The Ryan army. The Flamzeron army. Let's move on to gameplay a little bit. They've changed a few mechanics. Like, they made it to where anyone can use any weapon. They're bringing in like the sub weapon to the Strikeforce games, which I'll make another video for too, because I actually have been playing that game, and that's kind of cool. Though they mentioned that they're going back to that for most of the characters, they're going back to the way they used to fight. Like for example, Lu Xun, as opposed to using one sword, is going to be using two. Liu Bei is probably going to be using one sword as opposed to two. Xiao Ho Dun is going to be using a large scimitar as opposed to using that weird little pole thing that he had. And that was, weird enough as it is, but, I'll definitely, enjoy doing that. And I've seen like a little machine gun that they keep using. The game's going to be pretty fun, in my opinion. I'm definitely going to get it. The music so far is pretty okay, from what I heard. I'm expecting some cool, badass rock music. So far, Welcome to China and Arena are my favorites. Personally, Arena. Hopefully they'll bring like a cool remix version of it, or they'll make a song that might top Arena. The game's also online, too, so if you want to play online and sort of like play like, a newer, refreshed Dynasty Warriors game online, then this might be the kind of game to play. And the story mode's going to be, I think, co-op online and offline too, so that'll be fun. Who knows, maybe they'll make the game like 4 or 3 player, or how many people you have in your army. That'd be awesome. That'd be so awesome. That's like the ultimate PvP match to the death. I think that's really all I can think to say right now. It's coming out the 22nd of March. I'll probably rent it off of GameFly or something. See how long this is. Ooh, I gotta go. See you guys later.